I do this shit for the love of the game.
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Whoa. Is my microphone working? Gotta make sure everything is working. Is everything working okay? Gotta make sure. Whoa. Is my microphone working? Gotta make sure everything is working. My microphone just sounds like it's hollow. Why does it sound like that? Working okay. Gotta make sure. I don't know, it kind of sounds like it's a little hollow, but as long as I can hear it. Is it echoing? Why is it echoing? I don't know what's going on. What? What? I'm getting some major feedback or something. I don't know why. Of course. What? Why is there feedback? I don't know what that noise is or why it's happening. Is it the microphone that makes that noise? Is it the microphone? Check, check. Microphone that makes that noise? Microphone? Check, check. Microphone seems okay. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Check, check. Microphone seems okay. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I think it's okay. I'm just gonna keep going. Alright, welcome to Tgan Live, episode 28. Couldn't do a show last week, not that, you know, the people not watching care, but I gotta keep checking the audio. I don't know. Couldn't do a show last week, not that. Playback. Playback on the TV seems okay. For some reason on my phone, it's coming out like shit. So maybe it's just my phone. I don't know. Fuck. See, I let her go near me and now I have to sneeze. Alright, episode 28, Tgan Live. What are we talking about today? Top of the news. The top news this week, after 2 weeks of not having no news, of not talking about anything,
It's official that Dave Bautista is officially Kratos. That has been recently announced. And we've got some updates on the new Sleeping Dogs movie with Simu Liu. And they just dropped a trailer for the new Golden Axe animated show, and that looks pretty funny. So we're going to check all that out. So don't forget to Lizlike and Suskrizzy, whoever's out there watching, please help me grow my channel. Especially since YouTube decided to make it even harder for small channels, because why not? Because they're a bunch of fucking assholes. You hear that, YouTube? You're a bunch of fucking assholes. Do something about it. First on the docket. As reported, Mr. Dave Bautista is officially now Kratos. I actually didn't think this was a good choice. I still think Momoa would have been a better choice, but this is who they went with. It almost feels too easy. We don't know who to do, so let's just pick Bautista. Yeah, all right. All right, I'll go to Variety. I want to use the main source of the article and not an article of the article. Dave Bautista officially said as Kratos God of War TV series. The Dune and Guardians of the Galaxy actor takes over the role from Iron Hurst, who was injured on set in June. This is from August 20th. Dave Bautista is officially taking up the mantle of the God of War. The actor is now set to lead the Amazon Prime series based on the video game franchise. It was originally reported earlier this month that Bautista was in talks to play the role after Ryan Hurst, who was announced as Kratos in January, suffered a torn bicep that required surgery and would have delayed production until 2027. It was announced shortly after that Amazon and Sony, who was co-producing, were recasting the part. Prime Video has given the God of War show a 2-season order with 2 seasons set to shoot back-to-back. Filming originally began in Vancouver back in February. With Bautista now locked as Kratos, production is expected to resume in the coming weeks. All scenes featuring Hurst will now have to be reshot. Well, there you go. See, any shots that aren't without Hurst, they could keep using. But how many shots did they use without him? Because I believe I heard they shot at least 3 episodes already. So, Variety previously reported that there are few better suited for the role as Kratos as Bautista. Aside from the fact he's an accomplished actor, he's one of the few in Hollywood that can step into a role on short notice with the physical shape it requires. Kratos is known for his incredibly muscular physique in the games. Bautista has been in remarkable shape throughout his career. Thus, he does not need months of prep time to prepare for the role. Like, every article has this little bit of like, yeah, they teach each other how to be la 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 la. Let's pick up the story of the 2 most recent God of War games, God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, which I played 2018, I didn't play Ragnarok, so I don't know. So they're still keeping Callum Vincent on to play Kratos' son Atreus, but other cast members include Max Parker, Ulf Darre Ulfsson, I live downtown. Frederick Itoy will direct the first 2 episodes of God of War. I wish there was more to report on this, because all it is just Batista is now in the role. So that's literally the news. So that's kind of boring. So over here on Complex, unless I have the original article somewhere, Simu Liu actor says Sleeping Dogs adaptation is moving along really well. The actor and producer shared a fresh update on the long-awaited game Adaptation. Simu Liu is breaking a months-long silence on Sleeping Dogs film, telling fans the project has real momentum behind it. The actor and producer posted on X that the adaptation is moving along really well, the first substantial public word in this project since roughly 6 months of quiet after director Timu I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce that name. The update lands shortly after Liu offered a small tease to fans in late July, replying to a follower who urged him to do the game justice. I hope to post some really positive updates soon. Stay tuned. Yeah, it's not going to be whoever this Jean-Claude Poohead is. It's never going to be greatest adaptation. So you can just put that aside right now. So here it is, Mr. Liu is saying here over on Twix or Twitter or whatever. We're moving along really well. We have a director, a production company, and a real path forward. We're just in the deal-making process with the game studio, which is a total fan moment for me because I love Square Enix. So that's cool. I mean, he loves the game, so it's become paramount that people involved have to love the game, or it's just gonna suck. And Liu loves the games, and this is basically his baby. From what I understand, he pretty much just got this whole thing started on his own. It wasn't anyone else's idea. He's just using his star power to be like, I want to make a movie based on a game that I love. I'm allergic to my cat. But I don't care. I still love him. So this blah blah, the Indonesian filmmaker behind Nobody 2, which released in summer's 2025, is publicly announced by Liu on X with a forward introduction. Ladies and gents. That's 4 words? Okay. Last time I checked, that's 8. So I don't know. Over here, Mr. Complex doesn't know how to count. To Jebediah for his part, responding with a equal swagger. What is this chick wearing? Posting that the film will require crossing oceans of time to get right. This will take time, but we'll make the best version out of it. Cleaver chopsticks and all. The script had already cleared for a key milestone before La 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 came on board. Liu shared a photo of the screenplay's title page. Yeah. Is it gonna say Sleeping Dogs? This is almost a year old already. Oh yeah, Sleeping Dogs written by. I remember that. I did a thing on that before. Because I've been doing these lives for that long already. Still no one watching. Sorry. Production company Story Kitchen is back in the project alongside Liu, who's a Chinese Canadian he plays Chinese American, unfortunately. But he's actually from Canada, so that's why he's automatically a great person. Also served as producer, the adaptation is based on Square Enix's 2012 open-world game set in Hong Kong, in which Wei Shen infiltrates the Sun On Yi Triad. The developer United Front Games closed in 2016 without ever releasing a sequel. Fun fact is I tested that game in Vancouver back when it was still a True Crime. I think it was True Crime Hong Kong or something. But I game tested it at United Front Games. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And then suddenly it got changed to Sleeping Dogs, which I don't know why. I wonder if they kept the name True Crime, it would help, because True Crime was already an established franchise, and I always get like fucking distracted by other articles. So yeah, I don't wonder why they just didn't keep it as True Crime, because True Crime is an established franchise, but whatever. I don't know what all this stuff is I'm seeing, like these videos of these like gorgeous ass women that are, I don't know, I probably shouldn't watch read articles on Complex anymore. These women are too distracting. Hey. All right, Paramount, which I think I heard about this, but I just suddenly forgot about it. Now out of nowhere, they have a trailer like for the new Golden Axe, which is hilarious because I played Golden Axe in the arcade and I loved it. I loved Alter Beast and I love Golden Axe, and they're almost the same game. Batman series returns? What do you mean? 3-part HBO Batman series returns. Shit, what do you mean? There's a show out already? Huh? Okay, what the hell is this? What is he playing it in what show? Batwheels. So it took you this far to get all the way down to the part where we need to know. Batwheels. So it's an animated Batman show. And it's on HBO. Well, it's not. I don't know. HBO doesn't do like straight up kid animation. Maybe they do. I don't know. Okay, I thought it was something else, but I don't know. So over here on Screen Rant, Paramount animates iconic 80s video game franchise in the new fantasy series releasing next month. Paramount has dropped the first trailer for its TV adaptation of the classic beat-em-up series Golden Axe. From 1989 to 1995, the Golden Axe games formed a cornerstone franchise for Sega, but has dormant since Golden Axe Beast Riders released on PS3 and Xbox 360 in 2008. While it remains to be seen if the Golden Axe game announced in 2023 will ever become a reality. I can't even remember what that game was. Paramount is reviving the property as a comedic animated series. Now, along with its preview, its cast and release have been revealed. Based off the first game, which was ported to various home consoles after being an arcade exclusive, all 10 episodes of the Golden Axe TV show premiere Wednesday, October 16th. There's a trailer which we will watch in a second. I said a second, you poo face. The core cast consists of, yeah, well, I don't know. I like it. I gotta turn on, make sure the audio was turned on for that. I feel like there was a bigger trailer. No.
In a time before history.
I gotta wait to see if that like played first. Now. before I keep playing it.
I feel like it was a bigger trailer.
In a land of might and magic, when evil rises, heroes rise harder on their trusty purple mutant thingies.
Oh my gods, it's them! I'm a huge fan.
3 heroes, Axe, Tyrus, and Gilius, level up to save the kingdom of Uria from the evil giant Death Adder.
To defeat Death Adder, we need an actual plan.
We're going to do what we do best. Face a series of progressively harder enemies until we have a big final battle with Death Adder. And then we kill him for good.
Till he's dead. All the way.
Fire magic!
I was hoping I could join your quest.
Why don't you go first?
Found the trap on the first try.
And so our heroes fight all sorts of stuff. For Uria! That was for Uria.
You better not be another mini-boss. You better be the final one!
Legendary kill.
It's just what us kitty cats do.
I'm so excited I'm gonna throw up.
Because we're us. Sorry, we don't have a group name. We were barely getting along until 8 minutes ago. Sega!
Chop first, axe questions later.
What else would you do with an axe?
I don't know. Golden axe. Whoa, like the game? Heck yeah. Let's freaking go. Thanks, Paramount.
Muted there, yeah. So that's a really good angle. I mean, it's almost the only angle you can go for in a game that doesn't really have much of a story. In the game itself, it's basically just you hack and slash. So, but that's a good choice. I think that's a good choice to go with that way. But what do they say down here? Anything? In an homage to Sega's iconic 1989 video game, Golden Axe follows Legendary Wars Axe Battler, Tyrus Flare, and Gilius Thunderhead as they reunite to save Uria from the ancient evil, the evil giant Death Adder, who just won't seem to stay dead. The quest is complicated by Hampton Squibb, an experienced and wildly underprepared adventurer. What kind of name is that? Hampton Squibb. Whose dream of heroism far exceeds his orbital ties. Forced to work together despite their flaws, they must find a way to stop Death Adder once for all. So it's not a whole lot to say, but what does it say about the show on, like, is there a, what's the Wikipedia or whatever say? Golden Axe show. What does the IMDb say? Also, yeah, some news about another game or adaptation coming up. Veterans, Thunderherd. Voice actors, Matthew Rise, Danny Pudi. Oh, right, that's the guy from Community. Oh, Lisa Gilroy. Hell yeah. I freaking love Lisa Gilroy. I had no idea that was her. That's awesome. I love that. She's actually from Alberta, which is kind of crazy because I'm like, she's getting pretty huge. And she doesn't really look like she's from Alberta, if you know what I mean. You probably don't. If you don't live in Alberta, then you don't really know what I mean. She's like a hockey girlfriend or some shit. But yeah, she's really hot and hilarious. So I love that. I didn't realize she's in that, so now I'm like, alright,
love this show a little more now. Oh damn it, I don't want to look over here because that's heartbreaking for all three of those. On 3 different levels, that's heartbreaking. Alright, I'm so distracted. Wish I could turn that shit off. So what else we got about it? Golden Axe animated series. 10-episode adult comedy. So yeah, it's adult too. Like obviously they show blood, so I was like, it's surprised they show animated blood in a trailer. Produced by CBS Studios and Titmouse. It'll premiere exclusively on Paramount. They're dropping the entire season at once. Co-created by Mike McBurn and Joel Chandler. The plot follows legendary warriors as they reunite to save Yuria from the evil giant Death Adder, whose quest for immortality keeps him returning. Their mission is complicated by the arrival of Hampton Squibb, whose lack of preparation and excessive enthusiasm disrupts their standard beat-em-up style adventure. Critics have noted the show's metatone, which leans heavily into self-referential humor. So how will that actually work? Is just some kind of thing they're gonna do? Because like, it's hilarious that they actually had the character select screen in the trailer. If you've seen if you played the game, then you know what I mean. Like they had it somewhere earlier in. I got it muted, so but like some of the animation, like it has a little bit of the old school vibe of like earlier animations, which I like. I couldn't tell that was Lisa Gilroy's voice when I first heard that.
Oh my God, it's them! I'm a huge fan.
3 heroes.
Yeah, right there. They do that exact select screen from the games. So is that a thing they actually did, or is it just for the trailer kind of thing?
Axe, Tyrus, and Gilius level up to save the kingdom of Uria from the evil giant Death Adder.
To defeat Death Adder, we need an actual plan.
We're going to do what we do best. Face a series of progressively harder enemies until we have a big final battle with Death Adder. And then we kill him for good.
Till he's dead.
That doesn't sound like Lisa Gilroy. Like her voice, she's changed her voice a little. Her voice is a little higher in real life. So interesting she decided to do that.
All the way.
I get so distracted in my own head. But the Titmouse, the company that actually is making the show, what do they got to say about it? We are Swift. This is like 2 years ago. Link to headshots. Ooh. Dropbox? What? Why would you link to a Dropbox? That's weird. You can't fucking you can't host it on your own channel? What else have Titmouse worked on? Comedy Central. Oh, it says Comedy Central, but it says it's gonna be on Paramount. So maybe it was on Comedy Central at one point. What is this crap? You really wrote all this because it takes that long to load your stupid website? So they make a lot of stuff. Looks like it's all animated except for maybe here. I think I've seen some of these shows. Yeah, they do the Mighty Nine, and do they also do the other one? So yeah, Titmouse does a lot of stuff. It's a funny name. Yeah, they did it. This entire page is stuff they did. Wow, all the way down to this page is everything they did. Bird. Is it in order of what they did it? I guess they started out doing probably just a lot of stuff for Comedy Central. The Adventure Bros. Who's that? King Star King. Yeah, like really wacky animated shows, which is like, I think that would be my dream job ever, is just to have my own animated show. I can just do craziest shit. The animation, you can just do anything. What's this? TMNT Strike Hard? I love TMNT. What's that about? Nothing. That's just all it says. What was this for? Oh, I guess it's like a short. Wait, what YouTube channel was that on? Is it Titmouse's own channel? It's on Nickelodeon. This is from 9 years ago, so I guess it's a short that they made. So that's pretty wild. But I'm not going to watch it right now. I was thinking of watching some footage of Zero Company just because, like, that's pretty much the only game coming out anytime soon that I'm interested in. It comes out next week. But I wanted to talk about this over here. Just announced a week or so ago, the Kingdom Hearts anime series based on the video game is set for Disney Plus and Disney Channel. An animated TV series based on the maybe I already talked about this. I don't even know. What was my last show? No, it was the 8th. It wouldn't have been announced yet. Development partnership with video game creator Tetsuya Nomura and game developer Squeenix. Kingdom Hearts, the working title for the adaptation, reimagines the iconic adventure with a brand new story that will expand on the universe of Kingdom Hearts, while celebrating the characters that have captured the hearts of millions around the world. No additional details were given, but first look image has revealed the pairs to feature Kingdom Hearts protagonist Sora and his trusty Keyblade. Since debuting in its first March 2002 for the PlayStation 2, Square Enix's Kingdom Hearts franchise has expanded to include more than a dozen games that sold more than 39 million units worldwide. The Kingdom Hearts series was announced by actor Benjamin Bratt. Benjamin Bratt? Benjamin Bratt? Oh, is that why he's being was he in the original Coco? I don't know. Benjamin Bratt. Yeah. It was like that guy, that like redonkulously good-looking actor. That's right. I'm a straight guy, and I don't have any problem saying that Benjamin Bratt is a good-looking motherfucker. Just saying. Kingdom Hearts joins a growing list of new original animated series set up for Disney, including the upcoming Messi and the Giants, Warrior Cats, and Journey. I think I heard that Disney is going to focus more on animation than live action because it's like their animation is doing better, and I would agree. When all else fails, go with animation. Kingdom Hearts is captivating games everywhere, and the bad, boring stuff. Blah, 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 whatever. Also got some Star Wars Zero Company stuff. Because I'm not going to talk about any of the GTA6 leaks because there's some stuff about that. And then there was so many leaks about. I think I decided I'm not going to talk about the leak stuff because they're leaking happening so damn much in gaming. It's irritating. Everything gets ruined.
You've come to us because you have nowhere else to go.
Panic. I got eyes on Fathom.
My plague will show you the truth. My plague will show you the truth.
This is the volcanic world of Lunata. Fathom ceased the planet's mining citadel. We are going to take it back.
By flying directly into a volcano.
I'm more of a buried at sea type myself.
Fathom claims she can hear the voice of the plague.
The coil's threat is real. Someone needs to stop them.
Appreciate the hand.
I am of the coil, and I am infinite.
It's time to honor our deal.
Times like these, they change people.
It's not something you can understand, it's something you become.
I'm asking you to join me in going after Fathom. With everything we got.
Yeah, I already got this installed, ready to go. Still waiting. It doesn't come out until 27th. So, still got a couple more days. 5 more days. I wonder what time it's going to come out. Hopefully, I can get to play it a little bit before I have to go to work. Yeah. I don't want to look at any reviews. There's reviews already out, but I'm not going to watch them. Especially this one says the place is too safe. But to be honest, I'm not surprised by that, to be honest. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be anything groundbreaking, but I love that style of game. I don't even care that it's Star Wars. I just love that style of game. Like, it could just be any IP, but making it Star Wars definitely does help it. But I'd play a game like that anyways. I mean, it really does just seem like XCOM with Star Wars, but way better graphics. Because, yeah, the XCOM developers' graphics aren't the strongest. Just in general, which...
So this right here is your first...
Why does this audio suddenly go away? This is some Star Wars goober guy. This is actually a really good video. I was watching it. This guy has everything to do with this entire game. All of his videos are just this. Jeez, everything. Not one video isn't about it. I gotta watch all of these, but I don't want to. Well, I was watching this one and it was really good because it was him answering questions and there's lots of gameplay footage. There's lots of gameplay footage during this.
Lane today, but last year in April when I was in Japan for Star Wars Celebration, I was lucky enough to be invited to a fireside chat with Greg Furch, who is the co-founder and creative director at BitReactor, as well as Orion Kellogg, who is the executive producer at Lucasfilm Games. And I was joined by some of my good friends and fellow creators as we got to sit down and chat with these guys about Zero Company and pretty much just ask them questions for about 45 minutes. Now, we weren't able to film the actual sort of interview, but we were able to record the audio so that we could kind of fill you guys in about all of that. So today, that is exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be running you through some of the sort of more interesting answers that they gave us all the way back in April of last year, some of which still isn't technically public until now. Now, one of the first questions that was asked was about pretty much how the project started. How did they come up with this idea for Star Wars Zero Company? And Greg Furch answered this question and he said that he was essentially pitching ideas around to a few developers and starting to kind of work on ideas for their next game that they were working on, at which point he actually got a call from Vince Zampella, who unfortunately passed away right before Christmas last year. But Vince was an absolute titan of the industry. I've actually met Vince twice and he genuinely loved video games. You could just tell from talking to him, and it is kind of cool to know that he had such a big part in pretty much creating this game. Even though he's not here to sort of celebrate the launch of the game, it is cool to know that he still had a huge role in that. Now, Greg pretty much said that as soon as they spoke, Vince knew that he was starting to sort of plan out some new things, and he actually pitched the idea to Greg and said, what do you think about making this next game that you're going to work on a Star Wars game? From there, Greg and the team were very much excited by the idea, and really the rest is history. And here we are probably around 5 or so years later with the game coming out in not very long at all. And so it is a cool little story to know that even though he's not here anymore, Vince had such a big part in making this game. It may have never been Star Wars. If Greg didn't get that call from Vince, he may have never really thought to make it a Star Wars game. This could just be like XCOM 3, for example. Like, it could have been anything. So it is a cool little story, a little backstory as to how this game actually sort of came about. Now, the next question came, I believe, from Alex from Star Wars Explained, and he actually asked about Alexander Freed's involvement in this game. Now, for those who weren't aware, Alexander Freed confirmed pretty much around the time of them revealing this in Japan that he had some involvement in the project early on. And for those who don't know who Alexander Freed is, he is a Star Wars author, or he's written other stuff as well, but he's a big author within the Star Wars space. He's written some really, really good novels, and a lot of it is actually to do with sort of squad-based stuff. So for those who didn't know, he wrote the Alphabet Squadron trilogy, which is actually a really good trilogy. I own that trilogy and have read it, I think, twice now. And that whole trilogy is about a small group of pilots, essentially. And he really got that squad dynamic down pat. I think that's something that he does really well. He also worked on a book that came out, I think, at the end of last year called The Mask of Fear, which is more of a political book. It was about kind of the rise of the Empire, like kind of in that initial part when the Empire had just become the Empire, and it was very heavily focused on Mon Mothma and the sort of political dealings in the galaxy at that time. And that was honestly one of my probably top 5 or 10 favorite Star Wars novels. So he's definitely a very qualified author to be involved in a game like this. And Alex pretty much asked them about, you know, what did he have to do with this game? And they pretty much answered that early on. Greg actually reached out to Orion Kellogg and said, hey man, we're looking at this, we need to get the story moving, and we don't actually have a writer. And from there, Orion actually reached out to Alexander Freed, and at that point he kind of joined the team early on. Now he's not necessarily a part of Bit Reactor, obviously. He was more so there on a, like, I guess, consultant basis, trying to help them piece together the puzzles of the story. But Greg even said in his answer that when you read Alex's books, he writes stories about squads and groups of people, which is kind of what I just mentioned. He's done a lot of that stuff. So that is really exciting to see that he's had his hands over this work, because obviously Zero Company is about a small group of people working together, and that's very much in line with a lot of the other work that he's done that is kind of proven to be very good. So it will be interesting to see in terms of the story how much you can actually tell was his doing, as well as obviously the other writers as well. Now the next question actually came from me, and I asked them pretty much like, was there any consideration for this game to ever not be a Clone Wars based game? Did they ever think about it being in the sort of Rebellion era or anything like that, or was it always going to be Clone Wars? And the answer was pretty straightforward, really. They said that when they first started, we kind of knew what this game was going to be and what we wanted to make, and that the Clone Wars was such a natural fit for the game. Part of that was that they're just huge fans of it, but it also feels like they're in a space that hasn't really been touched, and the story that they're telling here is also very different from most of the other Clone Wars stories you've heard before. It's not the like thousands of battle droids in a big war kind of story. It's the war beneath the war, and it's something that we haven't really touched on within Star Wars yet. So the answer to that was that era-wise, they essentially got there immediately. They never really considered other eras of Star Wars. They almost immediately landed on the Clone Wars, which I think is a good thing, because one, I think it is the right setting for a game like this, and two, the fact that they like stuck to that idea and they never wavered, they never thought about other things. In my opinion, that's actually a good thing, because it shows that they're kind of set on this era of Star Wars. Now, before we go any further, if you guys are interested in more Star Wars Zero Company content in the lead up to launch, and obviously there's going to be plenty more after launch as well, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are well on the way to the big 100k subs, so if you are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure you don't miss out on all of that upcoming content. Now, the next question was sort of about the accessibility to the game. Obviously, it's a kind of a niche genre, and the question that was posed to them was that you've mentioned this is going to be accessible to people who haven't necessarily played this kind of game before. Do you see it as having that kind of wide appeal? How are you tackling that? For example, a game like Squadrons is an amazing game, but maybe it is still a bit more niche and didn't reach the same levels as the Jedi games or Battlefront. How do you see Zero Company working in that space? Now, they pretty much mentioned to that question that they want this to be a game for everyone. Although XCOM was a little bit more of a niche type of game, they don't want this to be a super niche strategy game that only the hardcore fans will enjoy. And a huge part of that is kind of trying to bridge the gap between typical games like this, and the more AAA bridge the gap between get from Andor that feels like it links quite heavily to Zero Company. They were then followed up with another question sort of adding on to that and saying, and game-wise, are there any inspirations? And Greg sort of jokingly said, I mean, I made a few of them. And then, you know, everyone was kind of laughing a little bit and he said, yes, we are inspired by XCOM, which was quite funny because leading into this, keep in mind, like there wasn't that much information about the game. And so a lot of people were saying, is this going to be like an XCOM Star Wars game? And so for him to just straight up say, yes, we are inspired by XCOM, I thought that was funny and the whole room was laughing at that point. So that was a very good answer from Greg. There was then a question saying, you talk about the war beneath the war, but in that setting, there's always a chance that someone might run into someone familiar. Can we potentially expect that? Orion answered that saying, the Clone Wars are filled with characters and stories, and kind of just left it there. And then I can't remember who asked this question. I actually want to say it was my man, which was a Jedi, a good friend of mine. And I think if it was him anyway, he said, I guess that's kind of a no comment. And Orion replied to that saying, great media training, and that there's really nothing else that they can say. Now, it's funny in hindsight, listening to that back and then now knowing that Anakin was in the trailer, like that's probably who they were talking about. And he sort of just said no comment. So it is pretty funny that all that time ago, they obviously had these thoughts about having Anakin in the game and stuff like that, and we didn't know anything about it. So the fact that we know Anakin's in the game, it kind of doesn't rule anyone out, in my opinion, and that's actually really exciting to see who else could potentially show up. I think there will no doubt be some more interesting cameos throughout this game. Now, the last question that I've got here is to do with character death and the sort of canon element of the game. The question was, the game is going to have characters that can die. How, in that sense, does it fit into Star Wars canon if every player is going to have a different experience? Orion answered this one saying that I think with canon there are stories that have been told, and so the stories are true from a certain point of view. That is a way that I always look at Star Wars canon, where realistically all of the stories we're told, it's kind of like it's someone in universe telling us that story. And so even though there is the canon events of Star Wars, there can be slight variations, in my opinion, between kind of what's real and what's that person's perspective, which I use in my own like headcanon as reasons why maybe there are slight little retcons here and there, because it is just one person's telling of the story. So for example, if I tell you a story about my life, I'll tell you a certain way, but if my friend came and told you the same story I told you, their perspective would be different and the stories would kind of sound slightly different. That's kind of the way I look at Star Wars canon as well. There's going to be slight differences. And so if in your story Trick dies and in my story they don't die, that doesn't necessarily make the game not canon. It just means that there is a different perspective on who's telling that story. The reason I bring this one up though was because they followed up to the question saying, so the story itself has one ending, at which point Greg answered that saying, I don't think we're ready to talk about it, which I thought was very interesting, especially at the time, because in my head, this is a canon story, so I don't see how they do multiple endings. I feel like with a canon story, just like look at the Jedi games, for example, there isn't multiple endings. You've got to have like the canon ending. But the way that Greg answered that saying, I don't think we're ready to talk about that, I thought was really interesting, because this is the type of game where there is a lot of player agency, and even like I just said, your Trick might die in your playthrough and my Trick might live. So even that in itself is technically different endings. Like if we get to the end of the game and Trick's in the final cutscene for me, but he's not in yours, that is different. You know what I mean? So there is the slight potential that this game actually may have multiple endings. Maybe the actual ending is the same in terms of the like plot points. But for example, in like GTA 5, you've got to get to the final mission and then you actually have to choose one of the characters that dies. So it could be a situation like that where the final mission is like some sort of sacrifice that has to happen and you choose a different character to die than I choose, but the actual story is the same. It could be a situation like that, or there could actually be multiple endings. I'm just not sure how they do that within canon, but like they said, it is all about perspective and like someone's point of view. So there is potential that that could happen, but I would have to guess there will be a single ending, just because if they're going to try and make this a canon story, which they are, we know it's canon, it's a lot easier for them to do that with just a single ending. So we're going to have to wait and see. But after hearing this back, I'm actually really interested to finish this game and see what the end of the game is, because I think that would be really cool if they actually do have multiple endings. But that is it for all of the key sort of questions and answers from this interview. Like I said, it was about 45 minutes long, so there was a lot of stuff that they went through, and obviously this is not 45 minutes long, this video, but a lot of the stuff I'm leaving out is stuff that at the change things up a little bit, I wanted to talk to you guys about some of my biggest concerns surrounding Star Wars Zero Company. Now, I have to always start these sorts of videos with the preface of, this is not me just complaining for the sake of complaining. Like I said, you guys have seen all my content in the lead up. I'm very, very excited for this game. I genuinely think this is going to be one of the best
Star Wars fans, we are officially in the final week of Star Wars Zero Company's launch on October 27th, 2026. And after more than a year of trailers, developer interviews, gameplay reveals, and now hands-on previews, we finally have a pretty good idea of what this game actually is. And honestly, it's a little bit more ambitious than me and a lot of other people thought.
You've come to us because you have nowhere else to go.
Fennec, I got eyes on Fathom.
My plague will show you the truth.
What a lot of people thought it was going to simply be Star Wars XCOM. Zero Company is combining turn-based tactical combat, character customization, squad relationships, RPG progression, a strategic campaign layer, permadeath, and a completely original Clone Wars story. There's a lot going on, and because the game is being developed by BitReactor, a studio founded by veterans of XCOM, the tactical foundation is extremely deliberate. So today, we're going through everything we know about Star Wars Zero Company: release date, release time, preload time, additions, character customization, the story, the timeline, the infinite coil, the characters, the den, the combat system, action points, advantage, overwatch, cover, flanking, high ground, bonds, injuries, permadeath, specializations. There's a lot going on in this game. This is the definitive everything you need to watch before playing Star Wars Zero Company. I'll also separate what is confirmed from what is still speculation, because there is one massive question surrounding this game. What happens when Order 66 arrives? We've seen a little bit in the new trailer that it looks like it might be in a kind of Empire era with you going through trying to fight these Venators. So let's jump in. Release date and time first. Let's get the easy stuff out of the way. Star Wars Zero Company releases on Thursday, August 27th, 2026. It's coming to PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S. The official EA listing gives a launch time at 3 p.m. UTC. So for me and everybody in Kansas City, that is going to be 10 a.m. Chicago, Dallas, Kansas City, and anywhere else in the central time. So that's worth knowing because this isn't a midnight launch. For Eastern time, that's going to be 11 a.m. Mountain time is 9 a.m. Pacific time is 8 a.m. And over in the UK with our editor, that's going to be 4 p.m. BST. EA has also officially published a 3 p.m. UTC launch time, so this isn't where we're guessing based on a Steam's countdown. The game is currently listed at $49.99 for the standard edition and $59.99 for the deluxe edition on Steam. So for the preload, as of recording on Friday, August 21st, you can preload the entire game everywhere. I have mine currently preloaded, so that's awesome. Get it done now. That way you can get some stuff preloaded and jump straight into the game when you can play it in your time. Very exciting. I'm going to try to actually stream this game, hopefully. We're hoping. So with that, how to get it, what is Zero Company? At its core, Zero Company is a single-player, turn-based tactical RPG. The game is developed by BitReactor in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games and EA with Respawn Entertainment. It's all together. So there's a lot of heavy hitters here. But there's also elements that should feel familiar to people who have played games like XCOM 2, Marvel's Midnight Suns, Mass Effect, Fire Emblem, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. So what everyone's really saying, and kind of what I'm looking at, is you're doing XCOM style combat with Mass Effect style kind of character building and narration and the story, which I absolutely love. Mass Effect is one of the team's favorite games. And then also you got your Star Wars elements. Respawn did the Jedi Knight games. Not the Jedi Knight games, the Fallen, the Cal Kestis games. They're awesome. The important distinction is that Zero Company is not just about winning individual battles. You're managing an actual organization. You're building a squad. You're developing characters. You're making decisions between missions, and you're deciding who you're going to trust with your life. As someone who started playing XCOM 2, again, I've never played XCOM in my life. I played Midnight Suns. I liked it. The story was kind of cool. I liked the kind of card combat of it all. Kind of the roguelite nature. Huge fan of roguelites. We will also be playing the Galactic Racer, which is a racing roguelite, by the way. Yeah, I think I've played 3 missions, and I have 2 characters from my original roster right now, and I think one's about to die. I'm about to have to replay everything because XCOM is hard. So hopefully this game is not as hard as XCOM because it's Star Wars. We want to be a little bit more story-driven. I mean, not easy by any means, but we want it to be not blow your computer up. So the story, the game takes place during the twilight of the Clone Wars. The Republic and the Separatists are still fighting, but the galaxy is entering the final phases of the Clone Wars. And rather than tell another story about the Jedi leading a massive army into the battlefield, Zero Company focuses on something happening underneath the conventional war, a shadow, kind of cold ops. You play as Hawks, a former Republic officer who has fallen outside the traditional military structure. Hawk becomes the leader of Zero Company, an unconventional group of professionals for hire. The company isn't made up exclusively of clones. That's one of the most important aspects of the game. Your team can contain an absolutely bizarre combination of Star Wars characters, clones, mercenaries, aliens, droids, a Mandalorian, a Jedi Padawan, an Umbarian, scoundrels, and custom characters you can create yourself. The official premise is that Hawks and Zero Company are recruited for a high-stakes operation involving an emerging threat that can consume the galaxy, and if it's not stopped, and eventually, we can learn exactly what that threat is. There's a lot going on. We're going to jump through some more later. This is kind of the initial overview. Again, we're going to hit the points, and again, we're letting you know everything you need to know. So the main bad guys, the Infinite Coil, the primary antagonist faction, is a separatist-aligned paramilitary cult led by Kundry Fathom. And this is where the story starts going kind of beyond Republic versus Separatists and all that. The Coil is attempting to spread a deadly shadow plague across the galaxy. At San Diego Comic-Con, the developers described the Infinite Coil as a separatist-aligned paramilitary cult intent on spreading the plague, and whatever. That gives Zero Company a very different flavor from a traditional Clone Wars campaign. The Separatists are still present. We see that in the gameplay. You're fighting B-1 battle droids, you're fighting droidicas, all that good stuff. So everyone is still fighting, but Zero Company is operating in the cracks between all of these superpowers. It's essentially a covert operation story happening inside the larger Clone Wars, which is awesome because as much as I love Jedi, I'm kind of tired of them. Andor is kind of proof that you can tell a Jedi story, not a Jedi story, you can tell a Star Wars story without the Jedi. With the timeline, probably the most interesting part of the game, Zero Company takes place around 20 BBY, during the final portion of the Clone Wars. That puts it very close to the events leading into Revenge of the Sith. And that means something extremely important. Everyone playing this game already knows the Clone Wars are about to end. The Republic is going to become the Empire, the Jedi are going to be hunted, the clones are going to receive Order 66. Anakin Skywalker is going to fall. The question isn't whether these things are happening, it's like watching the Titanic, you know what's going to happen. The question is how close Zero Company gets to them. Are they going to be part of everything? You actually have a clone in your company. You can have multiple clones in your company. Will this affect the story at all? That's actually thinking about it, reading the script and going over it. That sounds like you might get like the clone trooper. I can't remember. It's we'll go over that in a second as well. Like might turn on everybody, might turn on the Padawan, and you have to like choose which one you go with. Who knows? So there is no official confirmation that the player experiences Order 66 during the campaign, so this is all still speculation. The late war setting makes it obviously possible, but anything beyond that is currently speculation. So if you see a thumbnail saying Order 66 confirmed in Zero Company, be careful because we don't know. This is, again, lots of leaks happening right now. We do know Anakin is in the game. We just know that. We've seen him. He is voiced by Matt Lantern, returning from the Clone Wars. And now we also know that Captain Rex also appears, which, I mean, you can't have one without the other in a Clone Wars era anything. We don't know if he's playable, but he's in the game. He's at least going to throw some dialogue around. Whew. Because this isn't just a generic new Star Wars storytelling with the Clone Wars aesthetic, developers are deliberately connecting Zero Company to the existing Clone Wars era. Who is Hawks? Hawks is our protagonist, but Hawks isn't a predefined Star Wars hero in the traditional sense. Hawks is a designed around player customization. You can customize things like their species, appearance, clothing, voice, combat specialization, all those things. With the species, you can do a human, Torgruda, Twi'lek, Zabrak, Everonian, and a few others as well. So your Hawks is going to be different than anyone else's Hawks, which I think is kind of cool in a storytelling sense, because I know we all know that Disney, Lucasfilm, everybody, they're really big on continuity and things like that. So we're telling kind of like a story. I almost think of this as like new Legends, if you will. You know, you have that main character, that custom character, but everyone's going to tell it a little bit differently, which I think works within the canon context of what Zero Company wants to be. You know, you have that original story. Some characters can die, which is going to change your story, your playthrough from everybody else's, which is really cool. Again, in that kind of storytelling sense, to where, you know, we don't have one locked in character. We have a name,